All right. In this little video, we're going to talk about company culture and more specifically about values, because when you are designing your company event, your retreat, offsite, or a big internal workshop that is about creating togetherness and so on, very often the goal that you'll hear from leadership, oh, we must get clarity on our values. Yeah. In 50% of all big company events, that's part of the desired outcome. And what is it all about? Let's have a closer look. So building company culture is paramount nowadays. Everybody tells you that. Company culture eats strategy for breakfast, and no matter what you want to do, you need a great culture for that, and everything else follows downstream. And then values obviously are a super big part of this entire rhetoric. People then often roll their eyes at the whole values topic. They are a bit frustrated by it because it seems so impractical or so abstract or so dreamy. That's why in this little video, I want to make it very, very practical and very, very actionable also, really showing you, what the practical value is. Let's start by debunking a few myths around value. Myth number one, I just said it, it's not practical. Values are actually very, very practical because they are nothing but a set of preferences for organizing your behavior. That's really it. You buy yourself an ice cream out there in the sun, because you have a value for good ice cream. You like that. That's an expression of a value. Super simple. You don't like dog poop, that's a value in action, period. Yeah, of course, that can then be more sophisticated, but that's the basic thinking behind it, yeah? And don't get confused by all of this talk about the values of society, like fairness or equality or something, yeah? This is something else. That's talking about moral values. So that's a whole different issue, yeah? When we talk about company values, we're talking about very practical orientation for behavior. Then second, values are not invented, but they are inherent, yeah? Often people think, leadership painted this set of beautiful words on a poster and now we're all supposed to behave accordingly, yeah? You cannot not have values. Any company does have values because otherwise they couldn't be taking decisions. What value workshops are about is discovering these values, yeah? Discovering the deeper reasons behind the way these companies are acting or not acting, and then expressing them in values, yeah? And that gives maybe a bit more prominence to certain values. They put them in the spotlight, while others that they don't want to emphasize or strengthen are kept out of this prominent place, yeah? So values are mostly implicit, but always there, and very often it's just about making them explicit. And then one thing that might be a bit provocatory, but it's the truth, values are discriminatory. Yeah, I know that this whole issue of inclusion and non-discrimination is a big topic in the entire HR world and when building company culture and so on and so on. But if your set of preferences is just open to everything and everyone, you're going to be completely indistinguishable and you're going to be completely disoriented. Yeah, you are not empowered to say no to something. Yeah. And you also, for example, when looking for talent, you're just going to attract everyone, yeah? You want to have a distinct culture that gives people the power to say no to stuff, yeah? And that's, you all know it, that's like so liberating when you can say no to something in life. So these are a couple of myths that I hope I cleared up a little bit. And then let's ask another question. Why have values become so prominent in thinking about company culture in the past couple of years? Because what I just said so far has been true for centuries, yeah? But why in the past couple of years has it become much of a stronger topic? Because we are increasingly disoriented. The future allows us less and less, as we all know, to plan. We have no idea what the future looks like in 3, 5, let alone 10 years, yeah? And in this situation, when we can't make proper plans, how can we prepare for the future? By just agreeing on a set of behaviors that we can apply no matter what the future holds in store for us. Yeah? And that's the superpower. That's the magic of values. No matter the circumstances, you have a set of behaviors to find orientation from. That's it. Let's say you want all of that. Yeah, okay, I like values, I want it. Like, how do you get there? You need to somehow find this container in which to get to this clarity of either expressing your values, making the implicit explicit, or at least the other option, show, don't tell, to experience the values, whatever they might be, in a very condensed, simple way. Yeah. And if you retreat into nature, for example, for a couple of days, for a retreat or offsite, you have this like protected context of time and space that allows people to experience their behavior, much more directly and in a much more memorable way. But also, if you don't go on a retreat or offsite, you don't want to, you don't have the time for it, just make sure that you regularly have some slow moments, because for really feeling this essence of who you are and what you want to do, and maybe even expressing it in explicit terms, you need to step back from the running and really get clarity on what's expressed behind this running. And then once you have clarity, you can start running again in a much more focused way. And that's really the power of retreats, but in general, the power of this approach of thinking. Yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for listening and have a lovely day.